She texted, "I'm not your therapist. Stop trauma dumping on me." I responded, "You're absolutely right." Then I started actually going to therapy and told them everything, including what she'd been hiding. Her lawyer's subpoena for my therapy records backfired spectacularly. Original post: I, 38 male, been married to Rebecca, 36, for 11 years. 2 kids, ages 8 and 6. The last 3 years have been rough. Lost my dad to cancer, my brother to a car accident, got laid off twice. Life was kicking my ass, basically. Through it all, I tried talking to Rebecca. You know, my wife. The person who promised for better or worse. But every time I'd start opening up about what I was going through, she'd get this look. Annoyed. Impatient. "Can we talk about something else? You're being really negative right now. Maybe you should talk to someone about this." 3 months ago, after I mentioned feeling overwhelmed about my mom's recent dementia diagnosis, she finally snapped. We were in bed. I just said I was scared about losing another parent. She grabbed her phone and started typing furiously. "What are you doing?" I asked. She showed me the screen, a text she was about to send me, while lying right next to me. "I'm not your therapist. Stop trauma dumping on me. It's exhausting and I'm done being your emotional support animal. Deal with your issues yourself." I stared at it, then at her. She hit send. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. "There," she said. "Now it's in writing. I need you to respect this boundary." I picked up my phone, read the text again. Something inside me just switched off. "You're absolutely right," I said. She looked surprised. "Really?" "Yeah. You're not my therapist." Message received. She smiled, kissed my cheek. "I knew you'd understand. This is healthier for both of us." The next morning I called around and found a therapist who took my insurance. Dr. Morrison, older guy, been practicing for 30 years. First available appointment was that Thursday. Update 1. My first therapy session was intense. Dr. Morrison asked why I was there. My wife told me to stop trauma dumping on her. "And how did that make you feel?" "Like I should probably be here instead of talking to her." He nodded. "Tell me about your relationship." And man, once I started talking, I couldn't stop. Not just about my dad and brother and mom, about Rebecca, about our marriage, about things I hadn't even admitted to myself, like how she'd been working late a lot, how she'd joined a new gym across town instead of the one 5 minutes from our house, how she'd started dressing differently, buying lingerie I never saw her wear. "Have you discussed these concerns with your wife?" Dr. Morrison asked. She said I'm not supposed to trauma dump on her. Observing changes in your spouse's behavior isn't trauma dumping, it's communication. Well, she's made it clear she doesn't want to hear about my feelings. He made a note. "And how's your financial situation?" That's when things got interesting. See, Rebecca handles our finances, always has. She's better with numbers. But when Dr. Morrison asked about specifics, I realized I didn't know basic stuff. How much we had in savings. What our monthly expenses were, where her bonus from last year went. "I'd like you to do some homework," he said. "Review your family's financial records, just to understand your situation better." So I did. And holy hell, our savings account had $3,000, down from $45,000 18 months ago. Credit cards I didn't know existed maxed out. A personal line of credit in both our names with $30,000 borrowed against it. But here's the kicker, her checking account, yeah, we have separate accounts plus one joint, showed deposits, regular ones, every 2 weeks, $500, sometimes more. From consulting. Rebecca doesn't do consulting, she's a marketing manager. I brought all this to my next session. "How do you feel about these discoveries?" Dr. Morrison asked. "Like I'm gonna throw up." "What would you like to do about it?" "I don't know, confront her, but she'll say I'm violating her privacy." "You have a right to understand your family's financial situation." "That's not a violation, that's responsibility." Update 2. I didn't confront Rebecca immediately. Instead, I kept going to therapy, kept documenting stuff. Dr. Morrison was incredibly helpful, teaching me about boundaries, actual ones, not whatever Rebecca was doing, gaslighting and financial abuse. Oh, and those consulting deposits? I did some digging. They came from her coworker, Dimitri. The one she couldn't stand. The one whose wife had just left him 6 months ago. During this time, Rebecca was thrilled with the new arrangement. I didn't talk to her about anything heavy, didn't mention my mom's worsening condition, Didn't share that I was struggling at work. She was living her best life. "You seem so much better," she said one night. "Therapy must be working." "It really is," I agreed. "What do you talk about?" "Oh, my issues." "Good. Keep them there." She had no idea that my issues now included documenting her affair and financial crimes. 2 months into therapy, I'd built quite the file. Bank statements, credit card records showing hotel charges, phone records with hundreds of texts to Dimitri, screenshots of her social media where she'd accidentally posted a photo from his apartment, recognized his ugly-ass coffee table. Dr. Morrison referred me to a lawyer. Not for therapy, for reality. The lawyer, Miss Rodriguez, reviewed everything. "This is financial infidelity on top of actual infidelity. The debt she's accumulated without your knowledge, the secret spending, you have a strong case. What about the kids? Document everything regarding their care, who takes them to school, doctor appointments, who helps with homework. Easy." That was all me. Rebecca was too busy with her meetings and gym sessions. Update 3. Filed for divorce last week. Had Rebecca served at work. In front of Dimitri, the process server was a genius, asked for Rebecca and her supervisor to sign for a legal document. Dimitri came with her. Her face when she opened those papers? Priceless. But the real show started an hour later. My phone exploded. "What the hell is this? I'm respecting your boundaries. You're not my therapist, so I found one, worked through my issues. Turns out you were one of them. You can't divorce me, I'm not agreeing to this." "That's fine, court will decide. You're having some kind of breakdown. This is your grief talking." "Nope, therapist says I'm thinking very clearly." "What have you been telling them?" "Everything, including the $42,000 you've stolen from our family and your affair with Dimitri." Silence. "Then that's privileged information? You can't use therapy notes in court." "Actually, my therapy notes are my property, and they document my mental state during your affair and financial abuse. My lawyer says they're admissible." She hung up. 20 minutes later, her lawyer called. Not a text, not an email, a phone call. That's when I knew she was panicking. Update 4. Rebecca's lawyer, Mr. Hutchinson, tried to play hardball. "My client demands 50-50 custody, the house, and alimony." Miss Rodriguez laughed. Actually laughed. "Your client committed financial fraud and adultery. We have documentation. She's getting nothing beyond what's legally required. We want to see these supposed therapy records you're claiming document abuse." "Absolutely. We'll provide them during discovery." Here's where it gets beautiful. Rebecca's lawyer subpoenaed my therapy records, thinking they'd show I was unstable, depressed, unfit for custody. What they actually showed: detailed documentation of Rebecca's refusal to support me emotionally. Her exact words telling me to stop trauma dumping, my steady progress in therapy despite her lack of support. Discoveries of financial irregularities that I discussed with Dr. Morrison. My consistent efforts to maintain stability for our children. Her patterns of being absent from family responsibilities. Dr. Morrison's notes were particularly damning. He'd written, "Patient shows remarkable resilience despite spouse's emotional abandonment during multiple family tragedies. Patient's concerns about spouse's potential infidelity appear valid based on evidence presented. Recommend continued therapy and legal consultation regarding financial abuse." But the grand slam? Dr. Morrison had recommended I start recording conversations, legal in our state with one-party consent. I had audio of Rebecca admitting she needed space from my negativity to focus on herself, saying the kids were exhausting and she deserved me time with Dimitri, telling me my grief was unattractive and I needed to man up, discussing with Dimitri on speaker she didn't know I was home, how to hide money transfers. Rebecca's lawyer requested a meeting after reviewing everything. Update 5. The meeting was yesterday. Rebecca showed up looking rough. Designer bags under her eyes, if you know what I mean. Mr. Hutchinson started, "We'd like to discuss settlement terms." Miss Rodriguez smiled. "I thought your client wanted the house and alimony?" "We're willing to be reasonable." Rebecca cut in. "This is ridiculous. He's weaponizing therapy against me." "You told me to go to therapy," I reminded her, "not to use it against me in court." "I'm not using it against you. I'm using it to document the truth. Working through my issues like you demanded." She turned to her lawyer. Can't we claim therapist-patient privilege? That's not how it works, he said, looking tired. The records are his. He can share them if he chooses. Miss Rodriguez pulled out the recordings. Shall we discuss the audio files? Rebecca's face went white. You recorded me? You said I needed to deal with my issues myself. Documenting them was part of the process. That's illegal. One-party consent state, both lawyers said simultaneously. We played a snippet. Rebecca's voice, just transfer it from the joint account. He never checks it anyway. Too busy crying about his dead daddy. Even her own lawyer looked disgusted. Here's our offer, Miss Rodriguez said. You get 30% of assets after debts you created are paid. Supervised visitation with the kids pending completion of parenting classes. No alimony. You pay your own legal fees. That's insulting, Rebecca screeched. Or we go to trial, Miss Rodriguez continued, where these recordings become public record, where your employer finds out about the theft, where Dimitri's wife's divorce lawyer gets copies of everything. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, Dimitri's divorce isn't final. His wife's lawyer would love this information. Rebecca looked at her lawyer. He shrugged. Take the deal. Update 6. Rebecca tried one more power play. She went to my mother's care facility. My mom, who has dementia, called me crying. Rebecca says you're leaving her, says you're sick in the head. I drove over immediately. Rebecca was there, playing the victim to the staff. He's having a mental breakdown, she told the head nurse. I'm worried about his ability to care for his mother. I pulled out my phone, showed the head nurse the texts. The I'm not your therapist message. The stop trauma dumping text. This is my soon-to-be ex-wife, I explained. She's not authorized to make any decisions regarding my mother's care. The head nurse looked at Rebecca. Ma'am, you need to leave. I'm family. Not according to our records. The only authorized contacts are Ryan and his Aunt Patricia. Rebecca turned to me. How can you do this? Your mother loves me. My mother doesn't remember you. She doesn't remember me half the time. But you knew that already. You haven't visited her once since the diagnosis. Security escorted her out. I spent an hour with my mom, who'd already forgotten Rebecca was there. We looked at old photos. She told me stories about my dad, thinking he was still alive. I didn't correct her. Some truths aren't worth sharing. Dr. Morrison and I discussed this at my session. How did it feel, seeing her try to manipulate your mother? Like validation. Like every session we've had, every revelation about her behavior was justified. You've made remarkable progress. Yeah, well, I had good motivation. She told me to deal with my issues. He smiled. And you did. Update 7 court date was this morning. Rebecca showed up with her whole squad, her sister Natalie, her mom Diana, and 3 friends from her book club, wine club. My side, just me and Ms. Rodriguez, and a banker's box full of evidence. Judge Curnow reviewed the settlement agreement. Miss Peterson, you're agreeing to these terms? Rebecca stood up. Your Honor, I'm being coerced. My husband weaponized therapy against me. How so? He used his therapy sessions to document private marital issues. The judge looked at her over his glasses. You mean he discussed his marriage with his therapist? Yes, and now he's using it in court. Ma'am, that's what therapy is for. Processing life events. It's not weaponization to document truth. Mr. Hutchinson tried damage control. Your Honor, my client feels the therapy records paint an unfair picture. Have you reviewed these records? Yes. Do they contain false information? Long pause. No, Your Honor. Then what's unfair about them? Rebecca jumped up again. He recorded me without my knowledge. Judge Curnow shuffled papers. In a one-party consent state, legally. But I told him to go to therapy to deal with his issues privately. The judge actually laughed. A short, sharp sound. Miss Peterson, you told your husband to stop sharing his emotional struggles with you during a time when he lost multiple family members? He was trauma dumping. He was seeking support from his spouse. That's what marriage is. Miss Rodriguez stood. Your Honor, we have audio of Miss Peterson referring to my client's deceased father in extremely derogatory terms while discussing hiding money with her affair partner. Play it. That clip rang through the courtroom. You could hear a pin drop after. Diana, Rebecca's mom, stood up and walked out. Just left. Rebecca's friends followed. Even Natalie looked sick. Judge Curnow signed the decree. Divorce granted. Settlement terms approved as written. Miss Peterson, I strongly suggest you seek your own therapy. You're going to need it. Update 8. It's been a week since court. The fallout has been extensive. Dimitri's wife's lawyer did get all the evidence. Turns out the money Rebecca was getting from him was from his joint account with his wife. His divorce is now criminal. He's facing fraud charges. Rebecca's work found out. Small industry, news travels. She wasn't fired, but she was demoted. No longer has access to company finances. Funny how that works. The kids are doing okay. They're in therapy now too. Different therapist, Dr. Kim, who specializes in children of divorce. My 8-year-old asked me last week, "Dad, why did Mom say talking about feelings is bad?" She was wrong about that, buddy. Feelings are meant to be shared with people who love you. Is that why you go to Dr. Morrison? Yeah, and why you see Dr. Kim? Mom doesn't like Dr. Kim. Mom doesn't have to. Dr. Kim is for you. Rebecca's required to do supervised visits for now. The supervisor told me she spent the first visit on her phone texting someone. When told to put it away, she said the kids were being boring. Last Thursday was my session with Dr. Morrison. We've moved to monthly now. How are you feeling about everything? Honestly, free. For the first time in years, I feel free. No regrets? About the divorce? None. About documenting everything? None. My only regret is not seeing it sooner. You saw it when you were ready to see it. She created this situation, you know? Telling me to stop trauma dumping. If she'd just been a normal supportive spouse, you'd still be in an emotionally abusive marriage. He was right. The stop trauma dumping text wasn't the problem. It was the symptom. The problem was Rebecca. You know what the irony is? I said. She's been texting me constantly since the divorce, about her feelings, her struggles, how hard this is for her. And I haven't responded once. She's not my therapist after all. Final update. Been 3 months since the divorce was finalized. Figured I'd give one last update. Rebecca is living in a studio apartment. Dimitri ditched her once his legal troubles started. Her family barely speaks to her after hearing the recordings. She's in therapy now, court mandated for the custody arrangement. Her therapist probably needs a therapist after those sessions. She sent me a long email last week. Subject line: I understand now. It was pages of self-pity, some accountability, but mostly excuses. How she was overwhelmed by my grief. How she deserved happiness. How I pushed her away by being negative. The last line was, I never meant for you to actually change. I just wanted you to stop making me feel guilty for not caring. I showed it to Dr. Morrison. How does that make you feel? Like I dodged a bullet. A very expensive, emotionally devastating bullet. Any response planned? Nope. She was very clear. She's not my therapist, and I'm sure as hell not hers. The kids are thriving. They see Rebecca every other weekend, supervised. They come back talking about how Mom spent the whole time on her phone or complaining about her apartment. Last visit, my 6-year-old said, Mom told me not to cry because it's annoying. But Dr. Kim says crying is okay. Dr. Kim is right. I like Dr. Kim better than Mom. Out of the mouths of babes. I'm dating now. Nothing serious. Met someone through a grief support group. Yeah, I go to those now too. Her name's Melissa. Lost her sister last year. First time we hung out, she asked about my family. I told her about my dad, my brother, my mom's condition. She held my hand and said, "That's so much loss. Thank you for trusting me with that." I almost cried, just from someone acknowledging my pain instead of calling it trauma dumping. We're taking it slow. She has her own therapy journey, but she gets it. We can talk about real stuff, heavy stuff, without either of us running away or playing therapist. Just supporting each other. My mom's dementia is worse. She doesn't recognize me most days, but I visit twice a week, play her favorite songs, hold her hand. Rebecca hasn't asked about her once since the divorce. Not once. The house sold last month, split the equity per the settlement, used my portion for a down payment on a smaller place closer to my mom's facility. The kids love it. There's a pool. Rebecca texted about the house sale. I can't believe you sold our dream home. I didn't respond. But I did laugh. It hadn't been a dream home. It had been a prison where feelings were forbidden, and reality was whatever Rebecca decided it was. Dr. Morrison asked me during our last session if I had any wisdom to share from this journey. Yeah, I said. When someone tells you to stop sharing your feelings with them, believe them. And then stop sharing everything else too. Your time, your money, your life. They asked for boundaries? Give them the Great Wall of China. He smiled. That's not exactly therapeutic advice. But it's honest advice. That it is. Rebecca's last text to me sent yesterday. I'm struggling. Can we talk? I forwarded it to my lawyer with a note. Please remind Miss Peterson that all communication must go through counsel. Then I blocked her number. She told me to stop trauma dumping, to deal with my issues myself, to find someone else to talk to. So I did. Found a therapist, found a lawyer, found evidence, found freedom. And Rebecca? She found out that when you tell someone you're not their therapist, you better be prepared for them to find an actual one. Because real therapists? They don't just listen. They help you see the truth. And sometimes, the truth is that the person telling you to stop trauma dumping is the biggest trauma in your life. Thanks for reading Reddit. Gonna go call my therapist now. Got a lot to be grateful for.